Alright, so welcome to 2.4. We're going to try our first video together. With this being our first video, I'm going to walk you through it, so it'll be a lot longer than a normal video is. So to start off, up at the top of your paper, fresh new page, you're starting and you're going to write just what I have here. Let me get my pointer. 2.4, adding and subtracting decimals, just like you normally would. So as you write this, you can hit pause as you go. I will probably go a little quicker, so you'll have to pause it here and there because I'll write something and then I'll hit record and it will already be there. So you're going to write as you go, and I'll be around checking your notes just to make sure you're on the right track. So the first example is adding decimals. And remember, when we talk about adding and subtracting decimals, you're going to write the number vertically and line up the decimal points. Bring down the decimal point and add or subtract as you would with whole numbers. So as I just said that, if I had 8 and 13 hundredths plus 2 and 76 hundredths, it would look like this. 8, there's my decimal, and 13 hundredths plus, now notice I'm going to put my decimal place in first. So I have both of my decimals lined up. So it's plus 2 and 76 hundredths is how you would read that. Now, I'm just going to bring my decimal straight down and put it right here. Now the reason I did that was because I wanted to show you it comes straight down. Now I'm just going to add my problem as I normally would. 6 plus 3 is 9. 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. So I have 10 and 89 hundredths. This isn't too hard because you're literally just going straight down with everything. There was no carrying or anything I had to do. But that's the basic principle. If you can remember, you start with vertically lining up your numbers with your decimal points, and then you bring down that decimal point and add or subtract like you normally would. So let's try this one together. If I had 1 and 459 thousandths, and I was going to add 23 and 7/10ths to it, I'm going to keep my decimal place right where it's at. Now, I have a whole number of 23. Notice how I lined it up way over there, and I have 7/10ths. I'm adding this problem, so it's going to look like that. Anywhere I have anything left over, I put in my placeholder of a 0. You could put a 0 in right here if you really wanted to, put in a 0, but you don't have to. Then you would just add it as you normally would. Because it's 1 and 459 thousandths is smaller than 23 and 7/10ths, it doesn't matter. You can have them in any order. So again, my first step is my first step is write the numbers vertically and line up decimals. My second step is to bring down the decimal point. And my last step is to add or subtract as you would with whole numbers. So make sure you have that written down in your notebook, and then you can kind of see the pattern that we took when we were up here. So we write the numbers vertically and line up the decimals, and we did that right here. And then we bring down the decimal point, so that would be my next thing that I'm going to do. And then add or subtract as you would with whole numbers. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 4 is 11, so I have to carry my 1 up here. Then I have 3 plus 1 is 5. And then 2 plus 0 is 2. So I should come up with an answer of 25 and 159 thousandths. Some people refer to it as 25.159, but we need to read it as we would be with decimals, and this is how you do it, 159 thousandths. So this is where you're going to do the try it portion of it. So go ahead and pause your video, and you can pause it on the screen so that you can see it when you're doing your work. The next page I'll have on here will be the answers. I will not show you how to do the workout, but this will be you'll see the answers. So write them out how we just followed directions. If you forget something, rewind the video and watch it real quick. What did I do? How did I put in placeholders? How did, think about it. Do your best. Utilize your notes that you just took. So after you hit unpause from here, you'll see the answers. And there are the answers for you, so you can see how well you did. Go back and see if you made mistakes where you're at. If you're really not doing well with these first three, rewind and just watch the video over. You don't need to take more notes, just watch the video again and see if you can figure out where your mistakes came into play. Example 2 is subtracting decimals. So we're doing the same rules, we're following those same rules of writing the numbers vertically and lining up the decimal points. Then we bring down the decimal point and now we subtract the whole numbers. Don't forget how to do your borrowing. So we're going to start off with this problem. So our problem is 5 and 508 thousandths minus 3 and 174 thousandths. So we start with our 8 minus 4. And 8 minus, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one step. We forgot to bring down our decimal right away. Always do that right away so you don't forget about it. Okay, so 8 minus 4 gives me 4. 0 minus 7, we can't do that, so we have to borrow from our 5, which now becomes a 4. We borrow it and we put back over our 10 that we had. So now we have 10 minus 7 gives me 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. This one lined up nicely because they were, this was in the thousandths. Okay, so they lined up nicely. They're not all going to do that. So watch how we do the next one. So for this one, we have 21 and 9 tenths minus 1 and 605 thousandths. So if I were going to write that number out, I have one whole. The decimal represents the word and. So 1 and 605 thousandths. Always put in those placeholders. Oops, I'm going to actually do it in a different color so that it makes a little bit more sense here. Those placeholders weren't there to begin with. I could also represent and say this number here is 21 and 900 thousandths if I wanted to, but 9 tenths is acceptable as well. Now I'm going to bring my decimal down and I'm going to attempt to solve it. So I have 0 minus 5. So I have to do some borrowing. I know that this is going to become a 10 because I'm going to try and borrow from here, which doesn't let me borrow from there, does it? So I have to borrow all the way over from my 9, and that becomes an 8. Because I borrowed all the way over from my 9, that becomes, this was a 10, which now becomes a 9, and now I can start and go right down my list here. So because I couldn't borrow here from my, I couldn't do anything with 0 minus 5, I had to borrow from over here, which made it a 10. That's how I got this 10. Then I had to end up borrowing again over here from my 9. Does that make sense? So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 0 is 9. 8 minus 6 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. And 2 minus 0 is 2. So I come up with an answer of 20 and 295 thousandths. Here's a chance again for you guys to try it on your own. So we have to remember, write the numbers vertically and line up the decimal points. Bring down the decimal point and then subtract as you would with whole numbers. Be very careful. Most mistakes come from trying to do your borrowing and getting the wrong answer, so make sure that you really take your time with these. The next page will have the answers, so go ahead and pause it from here. Even if you think, oh, I'm going to grab the answers now, you still need to show your work and prove that you did it. And here are the answers for those three. So if you have any mistakes, rewind it, go back, figure out what you did wrong. Look back at your work, check it out, see if you can figure out your problem. If not, ask for help. And also, don't forget, you can always rewind and read back and see what, maybe you missed something of, finding your own mistake. When you're finished with these, your homework for the night, what I would like you to do is wrap J, and it's page 46, and I would like you to do numbers 1 through 13.